it's Loopline. In this video I want to cover the new Article Scraper plugin that came out in September of 2018 from Scrapebox. So if you already have the Article Scraper plugin, it's a free update. If you don't have the Article Scraper plugin yet, it is a premium plugin. You can go to the premium plugins menu up here. On Mac it's at the very top, and go to show available plugins, and then you find your Article Scraper, and you're going to have a buy link down here, so it'll say purchase plugin. So in this case, if you already have it, all you're going to do is install update the plugin. If it's grayed out, you need to update Scrapebox. If it's red, just update. If it's green, you're good to go. Close out of this, go back to premium plugins and Article Scraper, and we can launch it from here. Now, I do have another video, which I'll link to in the description, that covers all the rest of Article Scraper, like all of this stuff. So I'm not going to cover all of that. I'm just going to cover the new harvester. The old harvester had 4 fixed sources, but the problem was that one of those sources went out of business, and then the second one went out of business, and that's the kind of thing you get into. So what they did was built a total custom scraper solution, so you can scrape from any article source that you want. If you want to go scrape science articles or scrape articles over here, it doesn't matter the database, as long as the articles are publicly viewable with JavaScript off and you don't have to be logged in, then you can scrape them, generally speaking. So let me say that again. Scrapebox uses raw sockets and threads. Those don't support JavaScript, so if you have to have a page that you don't get the article without JavaScript on, then it's not going to work. If you have to be logged in to see the article, then it's not going to work. But generally it should work. The only real exception is if you have some page, there's one website, that Forbes I think it is, they throw a pop-up and you have to click their pop-up in order to get past, it's an advertisement, in order to get into their site. No matter what browser or anything you're on, you're not going to be able to scrape that either, but that's the exception, not the rule. In fact, that's the only site I've ever seen that does that. So let's get into it. If you've used the custom data scraper in the email scraper plugin, this is like 99% the same thing, so you already basically know how to do this. Otherwise, have a look. It's pretty basic. We have our definition files, comes with one included, article biz, at this time anyways. That could change to none or others. It doesn't, I don't know, as it goes down the track. We can save one, save as, so we can rename it and then modify it, and we can create a new one. And then we get some stuff over here to designate the article scraping. We can move the priority up and down, which I'll explain in a minute. And then we can change the fields here. Down here, pretty basic. Load in some URLs to work with. Release memory, use proxies or not. And then how many, the proxies themselves, we can put them in here. We can load them, save them, that sort of thing. I'm not going to use proxies in this video. All you do is load them from file. Same format is in the main part of Scrapebox here. So same format for the proxies, and then you can turn them on and off right here, or you can just paste them in. So pretty basic. Start and stop, pretty easy. When we're done, we get to export, and then we get options. So for the options, which I'll just quickly go over here, but they're mostly self-explanatory. You can see some options here, and then you get settings for the total number of threads, and then how many levels deep, and then custom user agent. I'll come back to options when we're done with everything else, and maybe it'll make just a little bit more sense. So for the time being though, I'm just going to set this to 1 because I only want to use one thread when I'm doing the video here. So since I'm not using proxies, let's create a new one. I'm going to go new. I'm going to name it Ezine Articles. You would name it whatever you want to do it. We have 2 sections here, article title and article body. And then the width is just saying the total number of characters here, and for the width of the field. And so I'm just going to leave it at the default, and I'm going to go here and pop up Ezine Articles, and let me make this bigger so you can see it. I just did a Google search, and let's just search for cars. Now we can go to Ezine Articles and search, or I'm going to search right here in Google, it doesn't matter. You do have to get the URLs for this to scrape from. So the old scraper, it would go and do searching and find the URLs and then scrape the articles, but it was limited. With this one, there's more flexibility and total control, but you first need to have the URLs to scrape. So first I'm going to do it manually so you can see what I'm doing, and then I'll show you how to do it with Scrapebox. So first, I'm just going to click on this first one here, 4 smart reasons to buy a used car. I'm going to take this, grab this URL here, and then we're going to scrape this content. So we'll work on that here in just a second. And I'm going to put this URL here in Scrapebox and load it from Scrapebox. So now we have one loaded URL to work with when we're ready to test. So we have our title, and we're going to put in the article title. So you can do, in most browsers, you can do Control U. That tends to work. I think it's Command U on Mac, but anyways, on Windows it's Control U. Or you can right click and do Inspect Element. Now, when you inspect the element, that's sort of different, so you can see some stuff going on down here. Most of it's below the screen recording there, but you can see some stuff. For the simplicity of this, I find it easier just to view the source code. So I'm just going to copy this title, hit Control U, and I'm going to hit Control F for find, right? So you can, let me make this so you can see it. And then here we can find it. Now, obviously, you can go and dig around in your browser, but Control F works on like everything, at least in Windows. And it's probably similar in Mac for Command F. So we can see they put the title in several places. Now there's not necessarily a wrong answer here. Sometimes you'll find when there's multiple sections, one is easier to scrape from than the other, because the entire premise here is that we're working with before and after markers. So we need the marker before and a marker after. So something before it and something after it. Or we can use regex. I'm not going to go into regex like telling you how to use it. I'm not a regex expert. I hacked my way through. There are tons of websites that have tons of pre-made regex for you that you can use. You can do it yourself. You can learn it yourself. YouTube, Google, they'll get you learned. It's pretty easy and basic. Or you can go to Fiverr or Odesk or a forum or wherever and ask for help, or pay someone a few bucks and they'll write a regex for you. But well, I won't give a percentage, but most of the time, in my experience, before and after markers work fine in most cases, and it's just simpler. So that's what we're really going to talk about here. So the before marker is really easy. Again, so I could use this. What's before this? So this is purple. That's what we want. Before it is the word title here and here. So they use the page title marker as their actual title from the article. So that's super easy. So we're going to use that, but I could use right here this Twitter title part. I could use this part, the OG title part content, and then use this part for my after marker. Same thing here after. I could use check art probably wouldn't work unless they set it on all of them, but the likelihood of this description being a marker that's consistent across all of Ezine articles before this is not likely to happen. So that would be a before marker we wouldn't want to use. We're looking for stuff that's going to be constant. So I want something that if I put it in like this, or obviously page title, it's going to be consistent across every single page of Ezine articles that I want to scrape from. So I'm going to go the easy route here, and I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to pop it in here. I'm going to go for the other side, which is the after marker. I'm going to pop it in here, and away we go. So now that we have our title markers, let's go ahead and move to our body. So before we do that though, we need to actually add this field, add as a new field. Now we get Ezine Articles, let's put this Ezine Articles title, and now we're going to update the field. So now we have the title. And then we're going to save this as, I like to save my work so I don't lose it in case something happens. Ezine Articles, now we see here. And so actually it went ahead and added a title and a section there. So I'm just going to delete these. We have our title here, before and after marker, no worries. Now we're going to go ahead and create a new field, which is going to be the Ezine Articles body. And we're going to choose article body. And then again, we need the before and after markers. So Ezine Articles has a script when you right click, even though you're copying things, it actually just copies the URL. So I'm just going to type out this whether you're first here, and we'll start to see where it is. So right here we can see there's a nice little marker that gives us the div ID article content. So I'm going to go ahead and use that as my before and put it in here. And then at the end we see this article source, and so we can actually see that right here. Again, I could search for that. So I'm going to actually end my article with this little tag. So I don't really want to get this part in. I'm going to go up here a little bit. Article resource. Actually, it looks like it's about the end of the tag. And so I'm going to copy that, and we're going to use that for our after marker. And again, don't forget to add as a new field. If you don't add the new field, then it won't add. I mean, you can see them populating down here as we add them. So if we add again, it'll populate here, and I can just delete that. But also, this does not save your definition file. So we saved it once, and we had the title, but now that we've added something else to it, if we close out of this right here, this article body part that we haven't saved will go away, and we'll have to start over. So make sure you save it. So hit save, and we're ready to go. I could save it as new and give it a new name if I want, that sort of thing. And so now that we're saved, we have our article title and our article body, and we have our URLs. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit start here in a second after we look at our options to see where we're at here. And so we can set it up so that it only works with certain words. So I can require certain words to be on the page. Typically, I would leave this blank to start unless you know what you're doing. But then if you get like a ton of articles and you want to fine tune it, so let's say you want only red cars, right? And you could put any of the words on the page or all the words on the page, or we have to have red on there, and then, or maybe I want the exact phrase red cars or something like that, so that I can sort of just filter it down. But generally you just run it first, and then you find out, okay, I need to filter it. I can also do any of the words in the URL, so that's pretty nice. I can get words in my URL. Some article places may put words in the URL, others may not. And then worker threads, this is just the total count of threads is running at once. You want to be aware here. Sites are going to block you for going too fast. Ezine Articles is very famous for blocking people very fast. So, in this case, I'm going to go one thread because I'm not using any proxies. If I had proxies, that allows me to go faster. And some sites may be really lenient. Like if you were scraping Wikipedia, they're like uber lenient. You could probably go like 7 threads with no proxies and just run it on tons of articles and not get banned. Whereas Ezine Articles at one thread, if I ran a ton of them, it's probably going to get banned at some point, and I would need proxies then. So you can also go levels deep. So in this case, I loaded in the exact article URL that I wanted. Remember, we loaded in the cars article right here. I could actually just load in ezinearticles.com if I wanted to get a bunch of articles, and then say go scrape 8 levels deep, or that'd be a lot. Usually, I would start out with something lower like 3 or 4 or 5, and then load in Ezine Articles and just go ahead and say go to town and scrape, but it has to have words like red car in it, and so that way it's only going to put articles with red car, or maybe they put those in the title and just turn it loose on a site. So it's kind of 2 approaches. You can get the approach by searching Google, which I'll show you how to do back in the main Scrapebox, but all you're doing is harvesting. So really all you're going to do is throw your words in here and harvest and get your URLs and put them in here. Or you can just turn it loose on a site and use your filters and let it crawl through and get what you want. Or maybe if you wanted to scrape all the articles on a site because there wasn't, tens of thousands, maybe it's a small site, you can do that. If you need to use a custom user agent because the site happens to be blocking the user agent that is used by default for the article plugin, you can put that in here. If you don't know what a user agent is, just Google it. In most cases, you're not going to need to use it, so don't worry about it. So I'm going to clear this filter though. For now, I'm going to put it on this. I'm going to go to only source page, which only does the page that I loaded in, which is just this URL here, and let's try it out. And so it's doing its thing, and we can see here it populates the grid for smart reasons to buy a car, which is the title, and then we also get whether you're a first time, which is the first part of this. And so then now that we have our article, we can come over here and export, and we get some options here. We can select the field which will be used to generate the file name. We can generate the file name of this with the title or with the body, and then over here we can select the fields to export. So if we only want to export the body and not the title, or if we want to export all of them, I'm going to export all of them, and I'm going to name it based off of the title. Then that's actually only if we want to use this as a file name, of course. We also have a separator we can put in, so if you wanted to separate this in a different way with a carriage return, a line feed, or a tab, then you can put those in there as well. Or we could give it a file name based off of a date and a time and a number as the file name, The variables here that we can use are date equals the current date, time is the current time, and number is an increasing number. So if we had scraped like 37 articles, it'd have today's date, and then the time, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through 37. Then the encoding, the file format, we can save it in all these different formats. So Unicode is the default, but you can do UTF-8 or ASCII or all these other ones. And then we can actually go ahead and save it in our folder we're going to select. And then when a file exists, we can choose to overwrite the file, skip the file, or add a number to the file name. So pretty basic there. If you're saving it and you happen upon a title of another one, then it's going to do this. Now, if you're using date and time, the date and time is going to vary every time, which is convenient because, in fact, on a lot of my servers, I do this with a lot of other things because the date and time will never be the same. So if I scraped articles yesterday and then I scrape them today, but then I have no idea what they're about, right? So I just have date and time. So maybe I would then name the folder what I wanted it to do. So you can kind of figure that out. And then only the first 128 characters of the file name will be used as a file name. Pretty basic. And so I went ahead and punched in just a location here to export to, and we'll export one record exported, and let me pull it up. And here is the file. Notice because we chose the file name with the date and the time and the increasing number, and we pop it open and we have this. Here's our title, 4 reasons to buy a used car. 4 reasons to buy a used car, and remember we used our field as the separator. Here we use field as the separator, and you can see field is the separator, and then here is our actual article as we go through here and get all the way down here to the end and that sort of thing. And it conveniently strips out all the HTML formatting. Of course, you see, all of this sort of stuff, the paragraph and that sort of stuff, all these paragraph things, it takes that right out for us, which is convenient. And then we just have our article. So here is our title and our article. And then when you're doing other things and using this, you could just strip this out. If I wanted to, I could go through here and edit replace and replace field with something else. I could probably use Notepad++ or a similar program to go through and do lots of find replace all at once if I wanted to. I mean, I'm not saying you need to, but you could. It depends on your application for this, but here it is. And again, there's other field markers in there that you can use to separate them with, or if you don't want to separate them, I believe that was an option as well. Right here we can just do none, and away we go. Actually lied. All in none is up here. My mistake. We could just delete this and then export it, and away we go with nothing. I didn't even think about it, but you could just put in anything you want here. Like I put in 1, 2, 3, 4. We can put it in. Let's just put in something crazy like this, so we can see that it's a marker that separates the title, and we can export it. And we have here our one, and there's the marker. And so now that we looked at different export options, this is pretty basic. You do need to understand, and I wouldn't assume this would be a big issue, but this does work in order. So if you had, let's say, like I said, you could use anything for the before and after marker for the title. Let's say further down the page, because right here in our actual HTML code, so the title of the page is way up here, actual titles right there, and then as we come down in the code itself, we see the body of the page displayed right here, or the article rather. And let's say we were going to go down here and there was some title down here, and we decided we wanted to use before and after markers down here. The way that the scraper processes it, it processes it in order of the page. So it starts at the top, and when it finds one, it does that, and then it keeps going. So it finds the title and then the article. If the title we were going to use, the markers were after the article itself, and the title was down here, it wouldn't work in this order, because it would go down through the page, it would find the article, and then it says, okay, there's nothing after the article. It proceeds left to right. So it would say, okay, we're looking for this, we don't find it, we found the article here, okay, nothing else here, we're done. So if that's the case, if your title was down here physically after your article, that's when you would want to take here and move this up, and see it switches them. So the body then comes over here, and it left the content here, but if we scraped it again, it would, well, here, watch, you can see what happens. See, because I put the body first, it came down, it found the body, and then it says, okay, look for the title, and the title, the markers we used were above the body, not below it. So it proceeds from the top of the page, it found the body here, and then it said, okay, where's the title markers? Then it went down the rest of the page, it didn't see them, so it didn't put anything in here. So that's why it's important to understand where things are at. So now I need to move this back up because my title marker, remember, is up the page, way up here. So it's going to first find that, and then proceed down the page, and then find the body of the article itself. And that's pretty much it. That's how the article scraper works. As far as actually getting them, again, this is kind of, we can set it loose on the whole domain, or we could go in here and I could do site Ezine Articles.com, and then I could put my keyword after it, so I could put like car, right? I can also use the merge function, which I'm not going to go into, but I have that on scrapeboxfact.com. You can just search for merge in the search box there, and it'll come up and tell you about how to use the merge. And maybe I'll link to it here in the description. So we can use that with keywords. We could use this footprint up here and put it there, and then put car, truck, boat, whatever. This here gets combined with your footprints or keywords box, so we could put the footprint up here, we can put it down here, it doesn't matter, it's all the same. And then we can go harvest. So if I want to do this, and let's say I want, I don't know, 10 results for each one, I'm going to search for pages from Ezine Articles that have these words, and I'm going to go ahead and use Google here and hit start. And so we're going to come up with all of our results here, and so it's done. And actually looks like I fouled up here and used my platforms. Make sure you have custom footprint checked. It's a great example. Had platforms checked, so it's combining this stuff in with the other things. So do custom footprint and start harvesting, and you'll get better results. Same normal Google harvesting. I have a video on how to safely scrape Google and that sort of thing to get these results. And so we got our 10 results. So this is what Google thinks these results are about our 3 keywords. So now I can go here and load these from Scrapebox, and now we have 30. So let's hit start, and let's go down through here and load them one by one, and picking up all the titles and all the articles and going through there. Now see this? This is a great thing for Ezine Articles. I'm not using proxies, and we played around here and did a bunch of clicks, but now it says here we'll give you this one, this one, this one, this one. Oops, here we're going to give you excessive traffic. And it's only picking that up because that's the title of the page. It may not necessarily say that. So if you're going down through here and everything's great and all of a sudden these are all blank, you may very well have had just run into issues. Now I would need to use proxies, and this one was page not found. But so now I need to use proxies if I want to scrape from Ezine any articles anymore, and that's a great example because what did we do? We scraped like 5 or 6 times over the course of this 20-something minute video. And then I got 4 more articles, so call it somewhere in the 6 to 10 articles range, and Ezine said you're done. So that might be a good thing if you plan to use Ezine Articles, that you're going to need a lot of proxies if you want a lot of articles. And so lastly, a little tip, and for some of you this will make sense, and if it doesn't make sense I apologize, but if you were using the title, right, and you weren't using the title markers on the page, you were using some other content in the page itself, and all of a sudden you started getting blank down here where it was working, and then all of a sudden it's just blank, a troubleshooting step you might be able to do is go ahead and make the title of the page one of your things. So let's say this right here was some other marker. I'm just going to make up nonsense, right? Let's say it's some other marker, right? Now I can go ahead and I'm going to update this field, and then I'm also going to add a new field. And for this new field, I'm going to pop it all the way at the top, and I'm just going to call it the title test troubleshooting. I just call it troubleshooting. All right, so that's easy. And then we're just going to put in title of the page, and now, and I'm going to go ahead and update that. Okay, so now we see troubleshooting here. So now, as we're going through here, we can run it, and this will give us the title of the page, because the title we were using might have been something else for the article title and the article body, and then now we can actually get the title of the page, and like where we saw it said excessive, it might say something else, you know, like a 403 or 400 error series, which is, you know, can be like 403 obviously is forbidden, or it may say something else. Maybe it says 404 page not found, where you have somehow got a hold of a bunch of URLs that are not found. So that's something that you can do that might be a little troubleshooting step to help you out. And so that is how the new Article Scraper custom harvester works. Thanks for watching this Scrapebox video. For more Scrapebox videos, click the subscribe button down below and then click the bell. And then check out these other great Scrapebox videos.